On the 5th year after I died, my ex-husband suddenly regretted everything. He stormed into my house, pointed at the kid who looks exactly like me, and sneered. Whose wild man's child is this that Cindy gave birth to? If you have the nerve to cheat, why don't you have the guts to face me? If you're guilty, just go die quickly and hide in your tomb where it's peaceful. My daughter hid in the corner and said timidly, my mommy is already dead. It's the 5th year since I died. I couldn't relax about my daughter Cindy, so I've been lingering by her side. When Jack knocked on the door, Cindy was playing with building blocks. I heard her quietly say, this is the castle I built for mommy. Just as I was moved, Jack's voice came. Cindy, open the door. My sister Tina was busy with lunch in the kitchen and told Cindy to get the door. Cindy looked at the strange man at the door and asked, Uncle, who are you looking for? Jack's gaze lowered, and when he saw Cindy's face clearly, anger flared in his eyes. He forcefully pushed the door fully open and shouted my name inside. Cindy, Cindy, come out. Cindy got scared and hid in the corner without making a sound. Tina heard the commotion outside and quickly came out of the kitchen. Seeing that it was Jack, she started yelling, Scumbag, what are you doing here? Get out. Jack ignored her disdain and looked around for me. Not finding me, he asked Tina, where's your sister? None of your business. Jack sneered and turned back to point at Cindy. So, whose wild man did Cindy have this kid with? We divorced just a few years ago, and the kid is this grown. If you have the nerve to cheat, why don't you have the guts to face me? If you're guilty, just go die quickly and hide in your tomb where it's peaceful. Jack has a sharp tongue. I knew this too well. When we were married, every fight ended with me in tears. Apparently, it's a family trait. Tina is just like me, poor at comebacks. Besides scumbag, she couldn't say anything else. Jack, feeling victorious, became even more arrogant, scoffing, hurry up and get Cindy out here. You'll never see her again. Tina's eyes reddened, her tone filled with hatred. Jack frowned and was about to lose it. From the corner came Cindy's timid voice. My mommy is already dead. She died 5 years ago when Cindy was just 1 month old. Back then, she didn't understand anything and thought Tina was her mom. Later, she accidentally heard from neighbors that her real mom was dead and she cried for days. She once asked Tina, Auntie, my mom is dead. So where's my dad? Is he dead too? Kids don't get the real meaning of death, but having never seen her dad, she was puzzled and really wanted to meet him. She said, how come others have parents, but I only have Auntie? Tina didn't know how to answer, and just held her and cried. I lingered around them and cried along too. When I divorced Jack, I was 3 months pregnant. He didn't know about it, but even if he did, he would have doubted the child was his. We broke up because he thought I was cheating. Thanks to his first love, she instigated the whole thing with just a few words. Since we were divorced already and hadn't contacted for 5 years, why was he suddenly here looking for me? I looked at him puzzled. Sure, Jack couldn't sense my gaze. Facing Cindy, his expression was stiff. I saw shock, suspicion, anger, and other emotions flash through his eyes until he finally came to. He yelled, don't try to fool me. Get Cindy out here now. Cindy was frightened and began crying silently, tears rolling down her cheeks. I floated over, wanting to wipe her tears but kept failing. Cindy, don't be scared, mommy's here. She couldn't hear me and cried, so heartbreakingly yet carefully, until Tina ran over and held her. She finally whimpered a bit. Auntie, I didn't lie, mommy is really dead. Why doesn't this uncle believe me? Tina opened her mouth, but couldn't say anything, crying even harder than Cindy. Jack frowned, watching them for a while, probably annoyed by their crying, and then left without further trouble. I wanted so badly to know why Jack suddenly came looking for me, so I followed him back. He still lived in our old house. Nothing had changed inside. Even my photos were still on the bedside table. He sat on the floor, mumbling to my photo. How could you be so heartless? Just vanish like that. It's been 5 whole years. Changed your number and moved away. Do you really hate me that much? How could I not hate you? I spent 10 years with Jack from nothing to something. I thought we could finally be happy, but he turned and pushed me into hell. Before Cindy, we had another child. At 2 months, because he went to celebrate his first love's birthday, we had a big fight. He accidentally pushed me, I fell, and the baby was gone. I was alone in the hospital while he sang birthday songs and cut the cake with his first love, who sent me the pictures. The heartbreak in that moment, the bone-chilling hatred, even 5 years after my death, I remember it clearly. It was because of this hatred that I never let him know about Cindy. Luckily, Cindy looks like me, so Jack thinks she's someone else's child. If he knew Cindy was his daughter, he'd definitely try to take her away. I was feeling fortunate when I heard Jack's phone ring. It was his best friend asking how things went. Jack smirked self-deprecatingly. She had long been with someone else, even as a kid. My old buddy was shocked. How can Cindy love you so much? How old is the kid? Looks like 5 or 6. Old buddy. Did you ask whose kid it is? What if it's yours? Jack was stunned. And I was freaking out, twisting and turning all over the place. Isn't there a saying that birds of a feather flock together? Why does Jack, such a dummy, have such a quick-witted friend? I need to go back right now and make Tina take Cindy away. I floated back quickly. I paused when I passed the hospital. This was where my life ended. Before I died, Tina asked me if she should call Jack. She had seen me and Jack go from deep love to total resentment. She knew how much I loved Jack and didn't want me to have regrets. But I told her not to call him and never, ever to tell Jack about my death. The depth of my hatred matched the depth of my former love. I didn't need his pity and definitely didn't want him to know about Cindy. But Jack, after hearing his buddy, was already starting to suspect Cindy was his. I got back to where Tina and Cindy lived and tried to warn them to leave fast. I tried multiple times, but they didn't budge. Then it hit me, I'm dead. They can't hear me. Tina was comforting Cindy. They had their faces pressed together. It was a warm scene. Cindy asked, Auntie, who was that guy? Isn't Cindy my mom's name? Why was he looking for my mom? He knew your mom from before, Tina simply explained. But I knew Tina was cursing Jack a million times in her mind. She just didn't want to say anything bad in front of Cindy, didn't want to taint her innocence. As I watched them, I suddenly felt so sad. If I were still alive, Cindy would snuggle up to me like that too. She would call me mom in her sweet, soft voice. My heart felt heavy, tears were welling up, but had nowhere to go. I squatted beside Cindy, pretending to hug her. Maybe doing that would really feel like I was hugging her. The next day, Jack came with his buddy Bob, looking all set to take Cindy away. Tina immediately called her boyfriend Eric, and then told Cindy to go watch TV in the other room, not to come out unless called. Cindy remembered Jack from yesterday, and that he was scary, so she didn't want to go inside, worrying Jack might hurt her auntie. Uncle, her voice was trembling, almost crying. Even though she was scared, she bravely stood in front of Tina. My mom isn't here. She died. We're not lying. Don't hurt my auntie. Jack's eyes widened, his expression angry and disbelieving. Yeah, he remembered me as a person who treasured life. I'd rush to the doctor for any tiny ailment, unlike his first love, who stood in the rain outside our building for 3 hours just to see him. Jack went down with an umbrella, fussing over her, with no regard for me, who had run after them and slipped. They got into the car, while I remained in the rain. That downpour washed away not just the dirt on the ground, but my love for him. I was foolish back then, trapped in a rotting love. If it were me now, I'd have slapped those 2 cheats. Jack claimed he was the father and Tina, as the aunt, couldn't stop him from taking Cindy. It had reached this point. Saying Cindy wasn't his would only lead to more conflict. Tina was trembling with anger. What right do you have to take Cindy? Because you cheated during the marriage. Because you never visited Cindy in 5 years. Jack, you're shameless. Jack coldly stared at her, speaking harshly. I didn't visit, because you hid her from me. Now I know, so I have to take her. No way. Jack moved to grab Cindy. Tina wasn't strong enough to stop him. Bob, though saying not to fight, didn't support Tina. With one hand blocking Tina, Jack pulled Cindy towards him, making her cry loudly in fear. Bob tried to intervene. Stop that. You're scaring the kid. Cindy kept crying and struggling, shouting, Auntie, I want Auntie. Her cries were breaking my heart. I lunged at Jack, wanting to fight him, but as a mere spirit, I could do nothing but fail again and again. I was losing my mind. Just then, I heard the door unlocking. It was Eric, Tina's boyfriend. He was a fitness coach, pretty buff. Seeing the scene inside, he walked over quickly, taking Cindy from Jack and kicking him in the chest, sending Jack flying. With a thud, Jack hit the ground hard, coughing as if he'd spit blood. Eric patted Cindy's head, then asked Tina, You okay? Tina nodded. Eric handed Cindy over, protecting them both behind him. Then, pointing at Jack, he asked, Who's he? Tina responded, A piece of trash. Eric's eyes widened in shock. He misunderstood, thinking Jack had wronged Tina. Bob, initially worried about Jack's injuries, laughed at Eric's expression. Tina quickly clarified, He's not related to me, he's my sister's ex-husband. Eric knew a bit about my past, sneering, If he's an ex, get lost. Jack said, I'm here for my daughter. Eric responded, Cindy is mine and Tina's daughter. Who's yours? Are you Tina's dad? Cindy and Bob were speechless. With Eric there, Jack didn't dare act out, but he refused to leave, repeatedly telling Cindy, I'm your dad. Before this, Cindy had fantasized countless times about what her dad looked like. I stayed by her side every day and heard her say, "I hope Dad is fun. I hope Dad loves me. I hope Dad is handsome and playful." She never imagined her dad would be a fierce and intimidating figure. "Is this really my dad, Auntie Tina?" she asked, looking at Tina. Without hesitation, Tina said, "No, he's not." Jack pulled out another photo and pointed to the person in it, saying, "This is me and your mom. You recognize your mom, right? The man with her is your dad." He emphasized, "I really am your dad, Cindy. Don't you want a dad?" How could a child not want a dad? When Cindy was 3, she started kindergarten. Every time there was a parent-child event, it was Tina who attended. Some kids would ask Cindy, "Why does your aunt always come? Where are your mom and dad? Don't you have a mom and dad?" At first, Cindy would cry after every event. She even pleaded with Tina, "Auntie, can you find my dad? I really want a dad." Tina cried many times because of this. Once, Cindy stumbled upon her crying. After that, Cindy never mentioned wanting a dad in front of Tina. She would only mutter to herself while staring into the sky, "Mom, can you send Dad to me?" These moments always broke my heart deeply. It was my fault. I brought her into this world, but didn't give her the best care. And the dad she had longed for so much scared her to tears twice in just 2 days. Cindy looked at Jack with longing eyes, but didn't dare to get close to him. "Honey, why don't you come with Dad? I'll buy you lots of toys and princess dresses, and we can play together." Jack continued to coax her. And me. I could only hate myself for not being able to stab him and do nothing else. Tina was too kind. She never said a bad word about Jack in front of Cindy. If Jack hadn't left a bad impression in their meetings yesterday and today, Cindy might have wanted to go with him. Now, failing to entice her, he turned hostile with Tina. "If you don't willingly give me the child, we'll see each other in court." Tina responded, "Do what you want. Unless the judge is crazy, they'll never give you custody." Jack sneered, "We'll see about that." He slammed the door and left. Bob stayed a bit longer. I had been with Jack for 15 years. Bob was his childhood friend, and Tina, my sister, had met him several times. Tina wasn't any friendlier with Bob either. "Do you need something?" Bob said. He is the child's biological father. If he's sincere about the child, it's not a bad thing for the child to be with him. Sincere, does he even know what that means? When my sister was in trouble, she called him a dozen times. Did he answer once? Now that she's gone, he comes to take the child. Shameless. That reminded me of the car accident before I died. Trapped in the car, with overwhelming fear, the only person I thought to call for help was Jack. We had only been divorced for about 6 months, and he was thrilled to be rid of me. I called him a dozen times. He didn't answer once. In the end, he turned off his phone. Thinking back now, I feel so foolish. Bob was still coming to terms with my death. Hearing it again from Tina shocked him. "Cindy's really gone." Tina turned away, her shoulders trembling, clearly crying at the sad memory. Bob left an apology and finally walked out. I floated out after him. Jack was waiting in the car, chain-smoking. Bob got in and asked, "What's next?" "First, visit the cemetery." "Why?" "To dig up my ashes and make sure I'm really dead." Until Jack stood in front of my tombstone and read every word on it, he finally realized. I truly died 5 years ago. He seemed to stagger from the shock. Bob quickly steadied him. "You okay?" Jack didn't respond. After a long while, he told Bob, "I need to be alone for a bit." Bob knew he must have something to say to me. Confess? Well, I better listen closely. Jack started talking to my tombstone about our past. Just after graduation, we were broke, sharing a single egg. They say egg yolks are more nutritious. To make him feel better, I said I didn't like yolk. Once, we argued over it so much that it fell to the floor. He quickly picked it up and ate it, saying, "It's not dirty if you pick it up within 3 seconds." I laughed so hard I cried. He cried too, saying he felt useless for not giving me a better life. But later, we had a house, a car, and our account balance grew every day. Yet, his love for me dwindled day by day. "Cindy, you're getting uglier by the day. Always crying. Are you sick? Who can stand you like this? Divorce. Stop with the drama. If you really have guts, go die." Now that his wish has come true, why is he crying at my tombstone? Jack said he had tried to call me many times in the past 5 years. At first, the line was disconnected, then it was out of service. In the end, the number belonged to someone else who called him crazy. After our divorce, he got together with Lily, but the novelty wore off soon. After that, it was the grind of daily life. Whenever he and Lily fought, he'd try to call me. When he couldn't reach me, he'd go to my house, only to find I had moved. He then searched the city for me. With Lily, he repeated the life we had, from sweetness to arguments, finally falling apart. So, his sudden remorse was driven by Lily's torment, not genuine regret. Then why did he want to take Cindy? The truth hurts. Over the past few years, Jack's health deteriorated due to his erratic lifestyle, smoking, drinking, and constant bad moods. His sperm quality suffered too. Lily got pregnant twice, but both ended in miscarriages. Eventually, their relationship fell apart. Jack never came home. How could they make a baby? But his parents were aging and desperate for a grandchild. Jack thought bringing home an already born granddaughter could shut them up. He never truly loved Cindy. Tina suddenly changed her mind and agreed to let Jack get to know Cindy first. If you agree to my terms, and Cindy is willing to go with you after that, I won't stop you, Tina said. Jack asked, what are the terms? Tina handed him a map. You need to take Cindy on this route. Curious, I looked at the map. It showed locations that marked my 15 years with Jack. The first place was our old, tiny rental. The place was so small that you entered directly into the bedroom, with just a toilet beside it. No windows, no kitchen. We lived there for 3 years, and nearly went mad from the lack of sunlight. Next was the site of our first venture, where we made our first bit of money. Then, the restaurant where Jack proposed. By then, we had money. He rented out the whole place and invited many people to witness it. The final place was the farm where we got married. I had always wanted an outdoor wedding, and Jack meticulously picked this location for me. When we loved each other, we were sincere. When we stopped, it was truly over. Tina didn't make our home the last stop, because she remembered me telling her, if everything could stay at the peak of love, there might be many more happy people in this world. When we got married, Jack's love for me was at its peak. He agreed to Tina's terms and took Cindy out. To prevent any tricks, Tina placed a candy-wrapped tracker on Cindy. She told Cindy that if her dad didn't follow the map's route, to throw away the tracker and seek help from a passerby, claiming her dad was a kidnapper. I was also uneasy and followed Jack and Cindy. Tina's plan didn't just hurt Jack, it cut me too. The first stop was our old place, which had been replaced by a high-rise building. I felt sad immediately. Jack stared at the high-rise in silence, then told Cindy, your mom and I used to live here. It was a tiny place. Cindy nodded, half understanding. Jack found nothing worth seeing and took her to the next stop, but the area had also relocated. Irritated, he mumbled a few complaints and moved on to the third place. The proposal restaurant was still there, even with the same owner. The owner recognized Jack instantly. Seeing Cindy, she exclaimed, wow, your daughter is so big now. Time flies. Where's your wife? Jack fumbled for words, laughing awkwardly. The owner's attention stayed on Cindy, missing his discomfort. She asked Cindy again, where's your mom? Why didn't she come with you? Shy around strangers. Cindy quietly replied, my mom is no longer with us. Cindy usually said my mom died, but Tina had specifically told her to say no longer with us, because it was less frightening. The owner's face stiffened awkwardly, glanced between Cindy and Jack, then excused herself as an employee called her. Jack's mood worsened. He knew Tina's goal was to make him feel guilty, but he thought he could handle it. He was wrong. The final stop was the farm where we got married. As soon as he and Cindy entered, a staff member greeted them. After confirming his identity, the staff member said someone prepared a surprise for Jack. Jack thought it was from me. Wishful thinking. Before I died, my greatest regret was not waking up sooner. If I had left him earlier, maybe I wouldn't have died. The so-called surprise was a cruel trick from Tina. Our wedding day video played on a big screen, welcoming guests, ceremony vows, exchanging rings, kissing. Every frame was crystal clear. The video felt painfully familiar yet alien. I was the happiest woman on earth that day, glowing and radiant. But by the time I left Jack, I was a shell of myself, repulsive even to me. The video ended with Jack holding me close. I remember he was drunk, sitting in a chair after seeing off guests. When I went to help him up, he held my waist, calling me honey with loving, drunken eyes. Our smiles were a blooming rose. The happiness in the video was almost unbearable for Jack to watch. He turned away quickly after a few seconds, overwhelmed. Then the screen changed to my final moments in the hospital. I had just given birth, yet I was emaciated. Tina asked, sis, should we call Jack to see you? Weak and drained, I whispered, no, I don't want to see him. The man I poured my life's love into, I no longer wished to see. Tina, don't tell him I died, and don't tell him Cindy is his daughter. Let my death be the end of it. Looking back at the long road and open waters, he lives freely and spiritedly, but I can't see him anymore. I don't know when this video was shot, or if it hurts Jack today, but inside me, this blade called memory stabs over and over. Especially when the happiness at the wedding contrasts sharply with my sorrow at death. No one can withstand such an impact. Memories are best forgotten because they hurt the most. I turned to look at Jack and saw that he at least had a shred of decency, covering Cindy's eyes and ears early on. His voice was hoarse. "Don't look. This is your mom's punishment for me." Cindy stood still and asked him back, "Why would mom punish you? Did you make her angry?" Jack's eyes glistened and he took several deep breaths before speaking. "Yes, I made your mom angry." Cindy then apologized to her. "Auntie said my mom is the kindest and gentlest person. If you apologize, she'll surely forgive you right away." "Okay, I'll apologize to your mom." "Cindy, I'm sorry, but I won't forgive Jack. If it wasn't for exhausting everything in that relationship, I wouldn't have had the distracted car accident later. Cindy was a preemie, delivered early because my body couldn't hold on. Tina and Eric spent a lot of money finding the best doctors, yet they still couldn't save me. The doctors said I had almost no will to live, and because Cindy was premature, she had to stay in an incubator and couldn't be brought close to arouse my will to live. Tina watched me die right before her eyes. I'm very sorry for bringing such pain to my own sister. If I could do it over, I would strive to stay alive, to take good care of her and Cindy. Unfortunately, there are no do-overs in this world. Everyone tastes the bitter fruit. I'm no exception. Jack sent Cindy back to Tina's place, saying he'd pick her up when she's ready. He had some family matters to handle the next few days. Tina didn't say much to him, just held Cindy and shut the door without letting Jack in. That night, Tina apologized to my photo, saying she did all this on her own and hoped I wouldn't be mad. "Sis, I admitted Cindy is his child. I'm just so angry. I want him to know the truth and then never see Cindy again." Eric isn't from this city, and had mentioned before hoping Tina would move back to his hometown with him. With this opportunity, she discussed it with Eric. He immediately said she just needs to bring Cindy over, and nothing else needs preparing. It was perfect. What Jack feels now or what he'll do next doesn't matter anymore. Tomorrow, Tina will leave with Cindy. After Jack went home, he had a huge fight with Lily. When Lily learned I had died, she mocked Jack. "If you're so in love, why don't you go die with her? Cheating during marriage and acting all devoted now, you must be out of your mind." Her venomous words were worse than Jack's. If I had half her toughness, I wouldn't have just cried out of anger back then. But Lily wasn't done, pushing him further. "You think I was ever into you? When you were broke, I wouldn't show up. Now you're successful, and I come to you. Don't you get it? Not everyone in this world is as dumb as Cindy, loving you to death. So, it's just my money you want." Jack gritted his teeth. Lily snorted contemptuously. At this point, Jack felt relieved he hadn't told her about Cindy. Lily thought, with no kids and aging parents, even if Jack left everything to them, she'd easily get the money. Besides, their harsh fights weren't new, even cursing each other to die, but Jack always came back. Lily took advantage of this, feeling she had Jack wrapped around her finger. However, Jack quickly drafted a will, giving everything except his parents' care funds to Cindy. He and Lily never got married. Initially, Lily didn't want it, fearing backlash for moving up too quickly. After enough fighting, Jack didn't want to either. They both thought they were bound to each other, marriage certificate or not. But my death changed everything. Living people can never compete with the dead. From then on, I became a thorn between Jack and Lily, making them argue more and more. Without knowing Tina and Cindy's whereabouts, Jack developed manic depression. He dreamt of me more often, waking up to desperately search for me like a madman. "Cindy, Cindy, where are you? Cindy, come out and meet me. Why won't you see me one last time? I hate you. No, I love you." I stayed to watch what would become of him, wondering if he went crazy longing for me. I couldn't handle such overwhelming emotions. It even made me feel disgusted. Belated affection is worthless. Jack's condition worsened, hurting Lily in his fits, once even breaking her ribs. In his depressive states, he'd harm himself, slapping his face and crying over my photo through the night. I must praise Tina. Her psychological attack was brilliant. Jack probably didn't genuinely realize his mistakes, but felt deeply guilty. Reliving our 15 years together shattered his mental defenses. I stayed by his side daily, watching him self-destruct, transforming from a glamorous success to a lunatic feared by his own parents. Occasionally, he had clear moments, and I saw him writing a letter to Cindy. "Cindy, Dad messed up a lot in the past and hurt your mom. I can't make it better now, so I'm going to join her early. This life, both your mom and I owe you. But I have one last request. When I die, bury me next to your mom." A month later, Jack committed suicide using charcoal. I watched him buy charcoal online, and I watched him light it up. Seeing a life fade away in front of you, it's something most people can't handle. But luckily, I was already dead. I didn't have to feel bad for not saving him. No one would blame me. Mostly, people just sigh and say, if only he'd known. Jack's will was made public after his death, and Lily broke down on the spot. Because she knew once Jack's parents found out there's a daughter, cheating the inheritance wouldn't be easy. She spread rumors, made a fuss at Jack's parents' house, and at his company too. In the end, she got detained by the police for damaging property. I didn't really care what happened to her. She was only after Jack's money from the start. It's normal for people to want money. She just took the wrong path. The real culprit was Jack. If he'd been more firm, would Lily have had a chance to butt in? I still wonder, why am I sticking around even though Jack is dead? From what I've seen in the past 5 years, Tina and Eric are good-hearted people. Leaving Cindy with them puts my mind at ease. So, what's still holding me back? I drifted to another city to find Tina and Cindy. She was playing in the amusement park, laughing happily. She's still so young, a bit of fun and tasty food can make her forget the bad stuff quickly. Forgetting is probably for the best. Tina and Eric walked hand in hand behind her, smiling happily at each other. A guy wearing a hat came over and called out, Tina. It was Bob. No idea how he found them. Tina immediately looked wary, but with Eric there, Bob wouldn't get his way. He took a folded envelope from his pocket and handed it to Tina. This is a letter from Jack to Cindy. Tina looked disgusted. Take it away. We don't want anything from that jerk. Actually, Tina didn't know Jack had died. After I died, they had no contact. She moved to a new city, so she naturally had no idea about Jack, until Bob said, Jack went to be with Cindy. Tina was completely shocked. Bob gave a bitter smile and shoved the letter into her hand. Just take a look. He's gone, after all. That night Tina asked Cindy, if someone was really bad to you, and you hated them, but they wanted to be with you, would you stay with them? Cindy tilted her head, thinking hard about it. She shook her head. I wouldn't stay with someone I hate. After a bit, she asked Tina, is this about Daddy wanting to be with Mommy, but Mommy didn't want to? Why do you ask that? Daddy told me he did a lot of bad things. Mommy was too sad, so she left him. So, if Mommy didn't want to stay with Daddy, would you support her? Cindy thought for a while, then nodded. If being apart makes Mommy happier, I would support her. Tina kissed her and smiled contentedly. The next day, she left Cindy with Eric's parents and went back to the old city with Eric. Jack's ashes hadn't been buried yet, because Bob found the letter while organizing Jack's stuff and read it. They were waiting for Tina and Cindy to come back to bury Jack next to me. Unfortunately, Tina returned, but Cindy didn't come. Tina never planned to bury Jack next to me. I was laid to rest in the West Side Cemetery, while she found a spot for Jack in the East Side Cemetery. The East Side is slightly higher ground. The feng shui here is nice. Might help you get a better next life, and not be a jerk again. From here, you can see my sister's resting place. Day and night, you can see it, but we're forever separated by distance. I can feel myself fading away. Turns out, I hated Jack so much. I worried we might have ties even after death. Now that everything is settled, my hatred is fading too. I open my arms and hug my sister. Thank you, Tina. Take care of Cindy. The wind blows into the valley, never to return.